Now the kid sees something stranger still. His mind races. Did anybody else survive? Sure enough, he finds another. He finds me.
Hello everybody, and thank you for coming back. My name is Birdcatcher, this is Bastion. Now, I left the narrator on at the very beginning of this video because I want to point out that that moment is one of the most important moments in the entire game's story. Interestingly enough, just that one phrase, he finds me. Now, why do I make a really big deal out of that? Well, the reason is because it's tapping into one of the most important themes in this entire game, and that is how this game treats the idea of time. And here, suddenly, the narration jumps forward. We realize that when the narrator is speaking, he's speaking about the present. He's speaking about things that are going on. Up until this time, we were led to believe that the narration was mostly talking about things that happened in the past. Instead, now, the narrator is talking about things that are happening in the present. And as we go really far into the game, especially at the very end, this idea is going to become extremely powerful. So stick with it. I promise it'll be something that you won't want to miss. But for the full effect, just really remember that this moment sets up a lot of great things story-wise. So here we are at the actual in-game Bastion. This is what the whole game is named after. This specific location, it forms the home base of the rest of the game. We always come back to this location. And this is really clever. Really great choice of the soundtracks part, where what music is playing, except for the music in the home screen, the main menu of the video game. That is brilliant. So now, this level that I'm going to is called a Proving Ground. There are really interesting mechanics in this game, because they take the idea of the arena as a test, and just amp it up 10 notches. Here, you're restricted to one weapon, and you have to prove your mastery of that weapon. So here, we have the return of that pedal tone. In the lower strings, it's just holding that one note over and over and over again, because you're not actually going anywhere. For right now, time is completely suspended in the game world. The plot doesn't move forward. Nothing really happens here, except you just spend time practicing. And spend time you will, because some of these proving grounds are extremely hard. This one, it's not too bad. You just have to make sure that you perform absolutely perfectly, and you make sure that every single shot that you launch off is a power shot. The first shot I launched off was not a power shot. I timed it, released it a little too early because I was anticipating too much, and as a result, I took 7 shots. For this one, I think I need to get under 5 to get first place and get the special attack. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently. The very first time, I got on the left side of this first guy and shot, but I think that the breaker bow can only shoot through 3 targets at once. If you get on the left side, you have to shoot through 4 of them. If you get on the right, you only have to shoot through 3. I think it's those little tricks that sort of teach you mastery of the weapons at the same time, because you implicitly kind of learn, hooray! You implicitly kind of learn that the breaker bow can only shoot through 3 targets. I believe you can get an upgrade that lets you shoot through 5, but that will come much later. So now you just kind of did this weird little video gamey challenge. Oh, you gotta shoot through all these targets. What does that have to do with the actual game? I almost didn't believe it when he says he passed the breakers challenge. That's cool. We're actually inhabitants of this world when we're playing this game, so we're doing things that other characters in this game would normally have gone through. So all of these proving grounds are actually tied into the game more so than you would expect. You'd think like, oh, it's just some video gamey thing, you do it, you challenge, you get the achievement, or you get the special power-ups or whatever. But no, they actually have a very significant meaning within the game world, all of these challenges. It kind of shows that the kid is really mastering the world that he came from, even though it no longer exists. And this ties into some of the ways that the other characters react to the calamity in this game, and that will come into play as we actually get used to those other characters. Right now we've just seen Rux and the kid, but there are 2 other really important characters who have interesting perspectives on both time, the calamity, the new world, and the old world. So the kid is using the lessons and challenges of the old world to master the skills he needs to survive in the new world. That makes him active. To contrast this, Two of the other characters are more passive in the way that they are approaching their post-calamity life. And we'll see that as those new characters come into play. But now we need to focus on what's going on in the present. So this is a pretty weird little level, don't you think? Kind of got that little crossroads in the middle, and it branches out in 4 different directions, and each little direction, there's something different. We'll see. But it's actually very well laid out. So right here, I've actually found the end of the level, basically. So I could just pick this thing up, head home, call it a day. But no, gotta fight some of these guys first. So, again, what do we have? We have an arena. Of course, at the moment I've been forced out of it, but every single thing in this game is deliberate. I'm convinced of that. So, what is this section deliberately trying to teach us? At this point in the game, we already pretty much have the gist on how to fight these guys. Well, we should. I'm clearly showing a bit of incompetence in that regard. But, what else are we learning? We're learning that these enemies have stories behind them. They have personalities, whether you believe it or not. So here, look at that. They're all praising me because I killed their leader. Those things have a social order to them. And this whole section is actually about teaching you the way these enemies work psychologically as characters. And you'll see, we'll go through every section and you'll learn a little something about how all of the main enemies in this game think. It's worth noting, I don't know if the game has mentioned this at this point, but I'll bring it up anyway, that all the enemies are actually the same species. They're just different stages. Right now I'm fighting the, I guess would be the larval form. They're all called Windbags. So I'm fighting the larval form of the Windbags. These are called squirts. And to contrast with how the adult forms of the Windbags, I think they were called gas fellas, the adults, they have a strict social hierarchy where they have a leader and they have basically like an alpha male. The squirts, they on the other hand, are more swarm-like, which makes sense because individually they're a lot weaker than the adult forms. And one other thing, what's up with these little box things that keep spitting out the squirts? Well, you'll learn either through the dialogue or maybe just by me saying so right now, that squirts in the world of Bastion were originally given out as pets. So those were basically like little vending machines for animals that you would just pick up on the street. So now we return to basically the safe middle ground. And oh, ain't so safe anymore, huh? But it's kind of really just good level design here. You have these little branches, they're pretty short. And you learn a little thing, a little objective at the end of each one, but you always get to go back and recharge at the fountain. And now, we learn a little something about the gas fellas. Apparently, you know, according to Rux, they work the local forge. Well, what does that mean, even? It's never really explained, but it's highly hinted that the gas fellas were basically workers. And that's really strange. I don't quite understand how that works in the world of Bastion, personally. But you see it pop up over and over again, where you have wardens and workmen, masters, or whatever, gas fellas. And there's a mine eventually where the quarry masters are gas fellas. So at some point in the world of Bastion, humans must have worked alongside or subjugated these gas fellas into working for them. And that explains why they all carry pickaxes. Little details like that are totally explained in this game, but you just have to go looking for it a little bit sometimes. And that's tying into one of the biggest themes in this game, more so than time. We're talking about subjugation of people, not fully explained in the game yet, and never really explained with regards to the gas fellas, but it comes up over and over again that obviously the Ceylondians were fairly oppressive peoples. They often subjugated others to do their work for them, and historically speaking, almost all great empires of humanity have been built on the backs of slave labor, and I guess in this video game world, that's no different. But enough of such deep and dreary subjects. I think that's enough for this video. Next time, we'll discuss scumbags. Thank you for watching.